Hey guys, welcome to practice. This week we are up to practice 22 in my book, 100 Mindfulness Meditations. And this one is called Meeting the Inner Critic. So the inner critic, first of all, we just kind of discuss what that is. The inner critic is that part of the consciousness that criticizes ourselves, that turns in on ourselves, judges ourselves, is unkind to ourselves, is mean to ourselves. It's that kind of inner bitch turned inwards. And it's that sense of inner attack that we really just want to explore. It's often, for most people, not that far away. A lot of people are very self-critical, and so it's not very hard to identify that voice. But what we're doing in our mindfulness practice is thinking about, well, what do we do with that information? If the inner critic is providing unkind information that is negative and critical, should we be taking that on board? Should we be thinking, oh, well, that's me. It's true. These are thoughts that I should be really, taking into myself and embodying and believing. Or is there another way? So in this practice, we really are looking to welcome the voice of the inner critic. Not welcome as in take everything on board that it's saying, but really listen. Welcome what it's saying, welcome the voice, explore it, be curious about the voice. In our practice, we're going to explore listening to the tone of voice. Does that voice remind you of someone or some archetype in your history, in your family, the way that you've been brought up? Does it bring to mind various things? And then we'll also be exploring what happens if we embrace that voice. What happens if we send ourselves compassion when we hear that voice? What happens when we send the inner critic compassion when we hear that voice as well? So it's really just an exploration. In this practice, we'll be going into a guided meditation to do this exploration. And just to note that if you are currently working with a mental health counsellor or therapist, just check with them if this is the right practice for you. For people going through trauma or psychosis or serious mental health issues, this may not be the right one to explore alone without some teacher or counsellor present with you, or it may just not be the right time. So check in with someone if you're under someone's care to see if this is the right one for you for now. If it feels like this is a safe exploration for you to go into, then I'm going to suggest that we drop into our meditation posture. So just thinking a little bit about the alignment of the body, how you're sitting, bring a bit of a sense of dignity to this moment, to this pose. And in your own time, just allow the gaze to soften, the eyes to close. And we're just going to enter in on the breath. Really enjoying that sense of landing as the breath moves into the body. That sense of rhythm, of inhale and exhale that's already there. There's no pushing or pulling to the breath, it's just happening. And we're participating and attending and witnessing. So as we drop into the breath and into the body, we're going to bring to mind one challenge that you may be facing. And just make it a light to medium challenge, maybe not the biggest thing that's going on in your life right now, but a fairly safe one to explore. It's the beginning of the year, so some of us, our challenge may be, I'd like to lose weight, I'd like to be fitter or healthier, more mindful. And just bring to mind that challenge and just sit with it for a moment and see if the inner critic has anything to say about how you're doing so far with that challenge. And And for most people, you may start to hear that voice, maybe some familiar thoughts coming up. You're not doing enough, lazy, you can't do it, you're not strong enough to do it. These types of thoughts, and you're just going to sit safely together in this container of our practice and just welcome the inner critic's messages, its thoughts. And we're just going to witness them. So I'll leave a little bit more space just to explore it. Is there anything else that the inner critic wants to tell you about this challenge that you're facing or how you're doing with it? And as you're listening, just explore if you can identify what tone of voice the inner critic uses. Is your inner critic male, female, or is it a unisex voice? Maybe it's not clear. Does the voice remind you of anyone in your life, past or present? As you listen and welcome the voice of the inner critic, do you get any visuals, any images? And maybe just choose a few words that describe your inner critic. And finally, we're just going to bring one or both hands to heart, if that feels comfortable for you. And just bring your awareness to the power of compassion and kindness that you hold personally. And the invitation is to expand that sense of compassion and kindness to yourself in this moment, but also to the inner critic. Can you embrace the inner critic within this energy of compassion and kindness? And it's okay if you can't. So just explore that invitation. Be the witness of what occurs. There are no success measures to this practice. And perhaps just let the hands return to a comfortable place on the legs or in the lap. Letting the practice go, bringing the awareness to the body and the breath rolling in and rolling out, expanding out into the room, and in your very own time allowing the eyes to reopen. So there's a continuation of that practice in the book, which you can read if you want to take it a little bit further. But thank you for joining me in practice, and I'll see you next week.